Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. Got a good one for you today on a busy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Happy Inauguration Day. Happy day off if it's your day off. Nets blown out by Oklahoma City. They were able to hang in there for a little bit. They got the game down to 12 or 13, but then they promptly got blown out. Got a full panel today. I got LBL and I got Jonathan, so I want to get their takes on it. I want to start with LBL today. LBL, first introduce yourself, and I haven't talked to you in a while. How are you feeling about the tank now? You feeling a little better about the tank?
Yeah, I'm not feeling comfortable yet, but I know I was on the panel yesterday with Dylan and and John and some others, but I'm not feeling comfortable yet. I know we moved up, like we've been flip-flopping 6 and 7 or whatever, but I don't feel comfortable until we get into those the top three. I guess the top three give all have the same odds. So I definitely want to get into the top three, meaning the worst three records in the league. That then I'll feel comfortable when we're there.
I think the odds of us getting there by the end of the season are pretty good. We'll get into that a little bit later. But
And I think
we're gonna
when you
we're
look
gonna
at
hemorrhage games here. We're really
and
gonna
then
start
when you
losing.
and when you look at oh yeah, and you can follow me under LBL for life under Twitter, which I'll be leaving soon. I'll be leaving X soon, so I guess I'll just be
Oh,
trying to follow you
wow.
guys somewhere else. But but other than that, yeah. So I'm also on Blue Sky and on a whole bunch of other stuff. So but and Threads and Facebook and all that. So but anyway, I was gonna say that when you look at those first four picks, I think Big Fan Breezy on his show, shout out to him. He showed us what the odds were for the worst records, and if you finish in the top three, they all have the identical odds to get the top four picks. And if you add all of those up, that means you have a 52% chance of getting a top four pick if you finish with the top three. So a better than half, you know, chance at getting a top four pick if you finish with one of the worst three records. So that's what we need to do. We need to do that.
All right, John. Let me get to you, John. First, your thoughts on the tank. We are losing games left and right. We're getting blown out. We look terrible. We look like a bottom two team in the NBA at this point, along with Washington. You feel a little better about the tank? Is it you feel a little better?
Definitely cautiously optimistic, I would say. And shout out to everybody today. A lot's going on. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Happy Inauguration Day. It's people got through the snowstorm last night. Be safe today because the temperature is not too pretty cold out. So just be careful. Yeah, Gary. Similar kind of LBL's points. And let me say this real quick. If you want to follow me on my Twitter, follow me at OS914113 John. Then work multiple shows. And yeah, if you ask me about the draft right now, I think we are on the trend where we should have been to start the season. I understand Jordy wants to have a little compete era, but now our goals are very aligned to get a top pick, and we're sliding down. For me, top four, I would be okay with. I don't know if we can hit top three because Utah, and Wizards and Raptors, they are all kind of like remaining down there right now. If we could get to top four and the Hornets and maybe another team, the Pelicans could slip by us, I feel way better about our odds. If you're a top four, you have a great shot of just being in top five, which we want to be. We want to be in that top five, and hopefully we hit top three. So we're on the right trend. There's still a lot of work yet to be done. Let's remember the trade deadline is 8 games away. It is fast approaching, my friends. So there's still a lot of work to be done before the deadline is over. And after that, if all the right moves are made, we should be on a good trend towards draft night. But still a lot to be done in such a short amount of time.
I want to start with yesterday's game. The starting five: D'Lo, Zaire, CJ, Clowney, Claxton. I do believe without Cam Thomas, with Cam Thomas out, D'Lo, Zaire, CJ, Clowney, Claxton. That's your best five, right? Like that's your best. That's those are your five best players.
No
John
Keon
LB.
Johnson love, huh?
So this is your best five. And the first quarter was abysmal. It was a disaster. And the fourth quarter, closing time, when they cut the lead down to 12-13, it was a disaster. I thought with LBI, this is the team that you're starting. D'Lo, Zaire, CJ, Clowney, Claxton, which I think we agree that this is probably your best five without Cam Thomas.
Well, we
I-
only had one guard playing, right? In that lineup, there's only one guard.
Who do you want? You want to start Keon over Zaire?
Why not? Because you need. I mean, because one thing about Keon, he's not a horrible defender.
No, he's a
He
good
gets
defender,
after it
quality
for
defender. Yeah.
defensive stuff. So it's like, yeah, he's not. He's been abysmal offensively, but he's not a bad defender. And I'm just wondering, like, if you're going with a center and three wings and a guard, I'm like, you're already at a disadvantage if the other team has two legitimate guards. So I'm not sure if that was a wise decision.
I mean, it's throwing things against the wall at this point and seeing what sticks. No,
Yeah.
John, same question to you. D'Lo, Zaire, CJ, Clowney, Claxton. Probably your five best players. If this is what we're starting and this is how bad it looks, how are we really winning any games moving forward?
Well, that's just it. I think the goal of winning games is not as important right now. I think trying to figure out which pieces can stick on this team of who remains after the deadline is, I think, what Jordy's trying to evaluate, and also trying to raise up the value of some players. Cam Johnson, he had 15 points last night, not one of his greatest performances, but still 6 from 11, 3 from 8. Johnson's been very efficient this year, so another game to boost his value up. Claxton, worst plus minus on the team again, minus 21. He did have 11 points and 5 rebounds, but again, rebounding his best skill this season hasn't exactly led to much results. So wonder what's going to happen with his value, as it's still not where it really should be if the Nets are considering trading him. Clowney, 9 points. Zaire, 7. I mean, D'Lo, not his probably his worst offensive performance yet, but he still had 7 assists. His playmaking skills have probably been the best part since he's come back to Brooklyn. So I think that's been kind of what's given the Nets any type of little offensive juice that they could find between here or there. But yeah, I think right now it's evaluation period. See who's fitting, who's not, and who we got to eventually ship out before the deadline comes. So there's still a lot of influx going on, and we're really not going to know who are the set players until after this deadline, as far as who might have a shot of cracking the roster next year. So there's still a lot to figure out there.
The next question I wanted to ask was, and this got pointed out a little bit. We're going to get into the stats, and it's getting ugly now for Brooklyn. But three shot clock violations, one following a Jordy timeout. The first quarter was as ugly as it gets. They seem out of sorts, the Nets. Is this really, I mean, do you guys see the wheels falling off and that little bit of energy they had early in the season, the max effort, right? The playing on one accord, is that gone? And are the wheels entirely falling off? I'll start with you.
I don't think so. I think thing is, I mean, were they horrible? Yes, but I don't think that if we continue to be horrible, that's the worst thing, because like I'm taking what Leaf said the other night or whatever about most of these guys will, if the plans work out right, most of these guys won't be here. Our coach will be here, and Cam Thomas will be back playing. Clowney will be a starter. So if we're looking at it, we're projecting maybe just two starters from this roster will be on the team next year, and we don't know how many of the other players will actually be here. So I don't think, and then a new year is new energy, new optimism, and all of that. So I don't think it harms the product so much. It's just ugly to look at, and I think that fans, we just have to have intestinal fortitude and be able to take it.
So I got two follow-up questions for you. First, like it wasn't good, but it wasn't hard to watch when they were winning games, right? Like when they were winning a little bit, they were playing competitive. They looked like an NBA team. The last couple of weeks, it looks like a train wreck, does it not, LBL?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna deny what you're saying, but if you look at some of those teams that we had, in the last 10 years, when you look at some of those teams that we had that were really, really bad, I'm saying even before Kenny, you know what I mean? Even in those times, like with the Lionel Hollins crew and stuff, we had some really bad teams, and guess what? We didn't have any draft capital. So that was the problem. It wasn't so much that we were only bad, but it's like we had no way out of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing that is the thing that, and we didn't even really have the two prospects like Cam Thomas, who's only 23, and Noah Clowney, who's 21. We didn't even have that. So at least we have that moving forward along with the draft capital. So that should give us hope.
I wanted to ask you as well. You mentioned most of these guys probably won't be here next year. If I gave you Sean Marks' title, gave you Sean Marks' hat, which players would be back next year? Who would you bring back?
It's hard to say because of the draft, because
Right.
we might be having doubles of players or something. So I don't, but off the top of my head I would say and that's why I don't like it, and I get mad when people start saying, well, we got to keep Jalen Wilson, and I'm like, you're hoping in the draft to get our third or fourth number one pick. You're hoping that he's better than Jalen Wilson, at least potentially, you know what I mean, to be an NBA player. So when we talk about stuff like that, as much as I have an affinity for Keon Johnson, it's like, come on, man, he's gone in the first bus out of here if we get a decent guard who can consistently hit shots or something, So when we're saying that, to answer your question, I'll say, I said Clowney and Thomas are here, and that's probably all I can commit to, because I mean Zaire would be nice, but like I said, I don't know. You might even have to, well, we can't deal him because he's he's on a 1 year deal, right? So he's on a 1 year $6 million deal, I think. So I'm scared to re-up him before we see what we have in the draft picks. So I'm only committed to those two guys, to the two future starters, hopefully.
Let me bring those two questions to Jonathan. Jonathan, first, like 3 shot clock violations. It's a pace and space game. How do you get 3 shot clock violations? That I understand OKC's defense is what it is, and it's premier. But 3 shot clock violations, one after the timeout, like that's unacceptable. Is this kind of where the wheels fall off? Do you think? I mean, this doesn't look like the same team that went out west and beat Sacramento and Phoenix and Golden State, right? I mean, am I wrong? Does this team not resemble that team?
Well, you're right that it does resemble what that little engine that could team did in the start of the season. But at the end of the day, this is more par for the course what LBL, and many people are expecting for this team to not be that good consistently. You think about it, you think about the Ben Simmons dunking with nobody guarding him and he gets blocked by the rim. Nick Claxton dunking 3 times and missing the ball. And then yesterday, the shot clock violations. It's like the Nets have done some pretty inconsistent things that you were kind of expecting, but you don't really hope it actually does happen because you're a fan. But at the end of the day, for us right now, it's like LBL's point. Would you rather be 2016 doing this type of crap with 0 assets? Or would you rather be this team with almost the most draft capital in the East, potential unlimited cap space coming this summer, and a potential top prospect draft pick? I like our odds with this because we have more tools at our disposal, like a safety net to want to tank. And at the end of the day, those are assets that are going to help us eventually, not say fasten the rebuild in 2 to 3 years, but as far as enhance it, as far as we're making good moves to build the structure up. And you need to do that. At the end of the day, this current roster that was built this season was not going to win much. I mean, yes, if Dennis Schroeder was on his team, could you maybe got that last play-in seed? Maybe, but it wasn't going to get you anywhere. And you look at a team like the Bulls right now, they have a top 10 protected pick that's held by the Spurs. If they miss the play-in, they get that pick. But given that the 76ers are playing so damn bad right now, and if they decide to tank, don't matter if the Bulls want to take at that point. If the 76ers hold on to that 11th spot, the Bulls potentially lose their draft pick to the Spurs by being in the play-in. We are in a great position right now. And looking at this stuff, yeah, Gary, you're right. It's really disgusting to watch sometimes. But you know what? For this season, it's about sacrificing and going through some adversity in order to get that diamond that you so desperately want. And we only have to witness this for about 2 to 3 more months before we have unlimited cap space, potential franchise prospect, and a lot of decisions to be made about how this summer is going to lead to us building this team for the next 2 to 3 years. So this is par for the course, but there will be a silver lining at the end when it's all said and done.
Let me ask you this question. I gave the question to LBL. If I gave you Sean Marks' title, let you wear his hat for the day, who would you bring back next year if on this current roster? And I got a question about Tyrese Martin because my opinion on him is changing in the other direction. Right? Who would you bring back? Is it just Clowney and CT, or is there anyone else that you say I want him back
Right.
next year?
I definitely want Zaire back. Listen, this guy has improved since he's come back from the injury. He's actually hitting around 40% on his three-point attempts. In the beginning of the season, he was hitting some, but he was around 20%. That shot up since he's come back. And he even said recently, my team, my coaches say, shoot the ball, and he's appreciating that. Like Zaire's offense is growing slowly this season, not where you want it to be, but it is showing. Defensively, he's been very sound. Like, you want those intangibles on your team, potentially as a huge bench piece when you start getting more competitive pieces with drafting and maybe free agency or trade. Zaire definitely is that defensive pit bull that kind of fits Jordy's system. So I'm open to bringing him back. Jalen Wilson, listen, I don't agree with LBL to the point where he shouldn't be on his team, but I also understand at the end of the day, if you draft somebody that's better than him, or hell, you want whoever you draft to be better than all these current players on the roster, all of them. And if that leads potentially to Wilson getting benched out, so be it. But I'm okay if he's back. But if not, I understand, like LBL's point. You draft a higher piece than that. Fortunately, you have to make roster decisions. Toussaint Woolman, the guy from Walmart. This guy offensively has been consistent since he showed up.
Let me get LBL because I haven't had LBL. Number 12, Toussaint Woolman, the former Walmart employee who is now the next best player. What are your thoughts on him so far, LBL?
To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of him because I've been missing some of the games. So I haven't been able to watch the rewinds. I've only been able to see clips, to be honest with you. So I don't really have an opinion on him, but he looks like he's going hard at least. So I can appreciate that on him. And, he does have some kind of size,
I also wanted to ask about Tyrese Martin. This is the guy I was against putting him on the roster as the last roster spot. I wanted Amari Bailey, obviously, to have that spot. But Tyrese Martin has played pretty well. And to me, he's starting to look like an NBA rotational guy. I want both of your kind of thoughts on the development of Tyrese Martin this year. LBL?
Yeah, he could shoot. He could shoot. And I would say at this stage of his career, he'd probably help us more than Seth Curry did, right? So, because the thing with Curry was he could shoot, but then sometimes his defense was lackadaisical. And then and Martin actually plays better defense. And then on top of that, he's healthier most of the time. So like I said, we Nets fans, we always seem to plan things bass backwards, where we always go with, well, who are we keeping? Let's keep this guy because he's our 10th player. Let's keep this guy because he's our 11th and 12th player. And it's like, we got to go foundational first. So it's really difficult. It's really difficult to get these guys and say, let's keep them if we know, because you know what ends up happening, Gary? We end up re-upping on Zaire Williams, but instead of $6 million, now we give him a 4-year $40 million deal, and then later on that comes back to bite us if he doesn't live even up to that. And then it's like, well, it's hard to move him now. So you know what I mean? So that's the thing why I want to see who we get in the draft. And then I also want to see who's available to see if there are guys that are better than our guys that might also become available.
All right, let me get to Jonathan. Jonathan, you too. Your thoughts on Tyrese Martin's development and improvement as the season's progressed.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little fun surprise. I think Seth Curry is an interesting comp because he's a small guard, but defensively he's a little more sound. But yeah, he can give you a three, he can give you a mid-range shot, a layup. He's just a little bucket scorer, and I think you need players like that because, like you said, you want to have some type of competitiveness within your team. How big or small that is what the player does. Martin has shown he can give you some buckets, so as GM John, I would consider bringing him back. And as far as Keon Johnson, Dayron goes, this situation is a lot more in the air. But Tyrese Martin, I think he definitely has a shot to come back next year on a standard deal, just because he's showing you offense. He's showing Jordy that he can follow on the game plan and execute. So I think Martin definitely has a shot, like Zaire definitely does, to be on this team next year.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Gary, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
LBL.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna
no,
say
go ahead.
one thing that came up yesterday, like late last night, and I think John had already left one of the podcasts. And one thing that I said about our center situation, since he just mentioned Dayron, was the problem with us and the league is teams don't carry three centers anymore, and when you really look at our centers, if you really look at our center rotation, we've got a second string and a third string center, and we don't have a starter, and we can't afford to carry a third string center, and that's why people were hard on me about talking about Sharp in that way, but I said, listen, if you took away the fact that he went to North Carolina, would we still be talking about him or not? Because a lot of times it's the pedigree of what school they went to where we keep giving them these shots, like a Theo Penson, and it's like, but they're
Let
really
me
not
let me
good.
let me push back on that a little bit, right? Like, to me, Dayron Sharp looks the part, right? He's a premier rebounder. What he does with the ball after
Mhm.
that is never good. He can't catch the ball cleanly and dunk it. He can't do that.
Yeah,
He's horrible. He can't finish around the rim. He's not shooting anymore. I was a Dayron Sharp fan based on I thought he could be a DeAndre Jordan type player, Andre Drummond type player. A big physical
not
force
big
around the
enough.
rim, but he could also shoot. Robert Williams III, something like that, right? Not,
Uh,
not with the same defensive prowess, but offensive on the offensive end as an offensive rebounder, uh, who could shoot a little bit, who could
you know,
stretch if he.
who you seem like you described. Seem like you just described Reggie Evans or Jamie Fike.
Yeah, but he's
You,
Jamie Fike's a good one. I'm sure Jamie Fike, that is an excellent call.
you
Jamie
know what I'm
Fike,
saying?
yes.
Like, because
Evans wasn't as physically strong though, right? If I'm
yeah,
remembering, he wasn't a
he
force.
wasn't. But what does Dayron do with that strength if his hands are made of stone?
Yeah,
Can I just say this about Dayron? If you had him on a different team with a lot of scoring and two stars, his role would be what it is: rebounding a lot, getting open passes to players. Like, he would probably fit well on a team where you have a lot of offense around him. On this team, there's like no offense, and you're asking him, he's just doing what he's supposed to do, like Claxton does. But Dayron defensively, I think, has shown more with the rebounding than Claxton has per se. But yeah, I understand. Offensively, he's very limited right now. He has a higher chance, unfortunately, Gary, being traded this deadline. It's just I don't see how he would be on this team come deadline when there's a market for him right now. And if he's on a better team, I don't agree with somebody who said that he has no place in this league. Rebounding is a hard skill to teach, and he hasn't really had a chance to really develop on a team that always usually drafts undersized players and all that. So
John, it's year 4. No more, John. I've been his biggest defender. It's year 4.
Gary, hear what I said. If he's on a team with better scores and he just has to rebound the ball, Dayron will do his role. I'm not saying he has no place in this league. That's
But
asinine to say something like that. Whoever
but
said that.
what's wrong with his best skill? And this is looking at the way basketball is coached now and played. What's wrong with his number one skill is if you can't take that ball right back up and get garbage points, then the rebounding means nothing. Because now with the way everyone shoots and everything, most of the rebounds are long rebounds.
Yeah.
And guards and wings get them. So we don't unless you're a five who actually gets the rebound and goes right back up, and it's hard for you to stop. Like a Tristan Thompson type. Unless you're like that, then there's no way. And that's the thing with Dayron. He can get the rebound, but then where is it leading to? Another dribble handoff or something? And that's the problem. It's like it's kind of problematic to have a really good space eater, which we used to call them, and rebounders, but then he can't even get the ball off. He can't get a shot off.
DJ is killing Tyrese Martin. Look, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'd agreed with you. But there are very few guys on this Nets team that look like rotational NBA players. To me, I look at Tyrese Martin again. He's not going to start on good teams. He's not really even going to play on it. But he's an NBA player to me. He's a rotational guy that can be on the court. Not in closing time, but to me, Tyrese Martin is an NBA talent. And back to Day'Ron Sharpe, like I've been this guy's biggest defender. I can't defend him anymore. There's nothing positive that he can do with the ball in his hands. And once he gets the rebound, he can't finish at the rim. The ball gets slapped away. He can't hold on to the ball. Like you said, his hands are like, he's like 4 feet. His hands are like feet. He can't. I'm at my wit's end now.
You know what's crazy though, Gary? A year ago, he was having career highs in everything. Third best rebound in the league. Offensively, he was showing some things. Like the injuries, unfortunately, last year and this year got in the way, and the timing of our rebuild got in the way. So it's not like Day'Ron Sharpe, like he just crapped out to crap out. A lot of factors came in that just kind of ruined his time on this team. So I'm not going to assign the full blame, but I understand he has a lot he has to fix. But it just seems like the Nets just don't have the time for it, like you said. So it seems like it might be the end of Day, unfortunately, on this team.
All right. So this fits into the narrative that I wanted to get back to with Gary about big men in general. The problem is big men, what they do best is being ignored. What they do best is being ignored by coaches, and coaches are so obsessed with this spacing and the 3-point shooting that it makes it hard for a guy like Day'Ron to develop, because classically we always used to say the 2 hardest positions to learn are center and point guard, and it takes them a while, and that's why a lot of times teams used to draft them and they used to sit on the bench and they used to just get better incrementally over time. But I'm saying with today's game, they're like, oh, if he can't shoot the 3 or if he can't space any, like they look what the things they say about Jalen. I think the arguments that Dylan and I get in with he like with Duran on Detroit. Well, he can't space the floor, and I'm like, but you can't teach 10 and 10. You can't teach that kind of you can't teach that kind of body. You gotta
I
let
agree
this
with you.
so
And they say
so
it's a copycat league now, but like when I grew up, the
yeah.
Showtime Lakers didn't play the same way as the Pistons, who didn't play the same way as the Sixers, who didn't play the
Yes.
same way. You know what I'm saying? Everyone, it was more like styles made fights. Now everyone is trying to use the same blueprint. I agree with you.
And it leads to only a couple of teams being successful and everyone else just scrambling constantly, trying to reinvent their team. And that's what I'm saying. Like Day'Ron, I mean, let's be honest. He may have been like back in the 90s or the 80s, and I'm not talking about just because of the players, but I'm saying they're all underdeveloped because they only stay 1 year. He came out too early. He was with us when he was 19. What does he know about basketball at 19? So, and that's the problem, that once you get to the NBA, they don't have time for you to look better. So, because if you look across the board at most of the big men in the NBA, the best big men are the guys that stayed in school the longest, like the Zach Edey's and all of those, because they stayed in and developed and they were able to learn the big man's game, all different aspects of it. But when you just come in and you're like, well, he's raw, but we're taking him in, it's like, come on, we're not, what is this? So that's a problem.
The big men specifically always stayed. Hakeem, Ewing, Duncan. Even Shaq stayed 3 years, and we knew like Shaq was a physical phenomenon who was going to be great right away. But even he stayed 3 years. So, yeah, the big men always stayed. And to LBL's point, this thing where everyone needs to play the same pace and space game. To me, it's like you see Tank Davis. I'm going to use a boxing analogy. Tank Davis is steamrolling everyone, knocking everyone out. You wouldn't say, hey, Shakur Stevenson, look at what Tank Davis is doing, and now try to replicate that. It's like, I'm a completely different fighter, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a pure back foot boxer. Why would I do that? It's like, well, because it's working for Tank. It's like, yeah, but I'm not Tank. You see my point. It's like, the same blueprint. I understand, like Popovich says, you have to utilize the 3 now. You do, and you have to use it. But it doesn't have to, your entire blueprint doesn't have to be, I just need 4 guys who can stretch and shoot 3s. Like, that doesn't need to be it.
Right.
And you know what? and that's what leads to the doldrums in the game, because it's not so much that we see teams and they get in the scoring droughts and it's like 7 minutes long. It's like, because all they're doing is shooting jump shots. Nobody's taking it to the hoop. It's like, no, I'll come down, shoot another three. I'll come down and shoot another three, and that's boring to watch. It's like, and that's the thing that and that's the thing that if we have that kind of guy, and that's the thing about Cam Thomas, when you put him in the game, he could be off. But even if his shot is off, he's like, you know what? I'm determined to score. I'm going to go inside and score. I'm going to shoot a midi or something. And that's what I'm saying. We need players like that who can score and take the pressure off.
Right.
I wanted to bring this up because it's a great point that all they do is shoot the three. If you hit the three, you win. If you miss the three, you lose. Yesterday, OKC won by 26 points. They hit 19 out of 43 threes. So they hit 19 out of 43. The Nets took almost the same amount of threes. They took the same amount of threes, 43. They hit 12. So that means OKC hit 7 more threes than the Nets did. Took the same amount and hit 7 more. That's 21 points. They won by 26. That's almost the entire difference. Almost the entire difference is that OKC hit their threes and the Nets didn't. And that's the difference in the game. It's like, when OKC is so much more talented and so much better than the Nets at everything, it basically came down to a three-point contest, right? They hit more threes than the Nets did, so they won, right? So if you're missing your threes, you're going to lose, which is what scares me about Boston in the playoffs. They shoot so many threes. If they just go cold, they're going to lose.
Can I see the free throws? I see 12 out of 13, right?
Yeah,
We were 15 out of 19, LBL. We were 15 out of 19, 78%.
Okay. All right.
Solid free throws from both teams. But you see what I'm saying? It's just, if you hit your threes, you win. If you don't, you lose. It's like, well, that's never really been basketball before. What, like, you see this all the time with
and
Connie.
you know what?
Connie
What you just
shoots
said.
the three like he's Klay Thompson. It's just catch and shoot. It's like, how about make a basketball move? How about put the ball on the floor, make him come to you, or if they don't take, you know what I'm saying?
Gary, you know what it is? It's analytics, man. Unfortunately, it's the same thing in baseball now. Analytics. Like you used to hear that back in the day. It was hit the ball or you strike out. Now it's analytics. It's like they try to do all these scenarios, do digital stuff where like, oh, if you hit this amount of threes, you should win by the time the game is over. Unfortunately, you can't predict all these things. You have to go out on the court or go on the field, whatever sport you're in, and show it. You can't always rely on those things to get you the results. Because like you said, Gary, if the team has horrible talent, don't care how many threes you take, you're probably going to get smoked. Like if you're a team that's not built to win, screw the analytics. Find ways to impact the game any way you can. But unfortunately, we live in that type of era now with the digital media world where analytics are now predominant in every type of sports world. And it's unfortunate a bit. It kind of is. Because like you said, it takes away the fun of the game a little bit.
So is that
analytics play a part, right? Like we can't completely ignore analytics, but the game is still not played on paper. It's not played with ones and zeros. It's played on a court with high level.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're looking, I'm sorry, when I was gonna say when you're looking at those free throws, because like when you showed me the Nets and I'm saying 19, I said that used to be like 2 guys free throw attempts, 19 attempts. That's like 2 of your players. You know what I mean? 2 or 3 of your players. But I'm saying only getting 19 attempts when there are 12 players on the team and there's 5 positions, and then OKC only had 13 attempts. So you're talking about 32 attempts at free throws the whole freaking game. That's ridiculous. That's
Shea took most of LBL. Shea took 10 out of 10. Him and one other guy, the only ones who took free throws for that team. That's just whoa.
But I'm saying, but that shows that you're not being aggressive in terms of going to the basket, you know? And it's almost like, it's ugly. To me, it's ugly basketball. I know it's a style or a preference. I know it's a preference, but I'm just saying, we talked about getting, Derek Queen. But if you get Derek Queen, his game is based on being in the lane, being in the paint. So now, are you gonna just say, well, if he can't shoot threes, then we're not gonna use him properly?
See, that's what I don't agree with. He has an interior offensive game for everything I've seen. He could do a midi shot. Let him rely on what he does on the interior. This is what I don't like about Brooklyn's coaching staff when they get bigs. They always want to change their damn roll up to make it simple. Why should it be simple when they have more to the bag? Like with Claxton, he's shown you spurts throughout his career, but it's not like he's ever gotten the free reins to actually completely do it. And he himself has not been assertive enough to want to do it. Like we need a guy on this team to play center who can go into his bag anytime he wants.
All
Not
right.
that he has to comply
Now
with his
here's the
BS
Claxton thing.
limitations.
Here's the Claxton thing. I'm not blaming Claxton any longer for it. You know, it's a coaching thing. They've had him for 6 years. If they have not taught him how to drop step, how to, pay $50,000 to Akeem to go to his camp to learn a spin move, if he hasn't done these things, he doesn't know how to post up anyone, and he hasn't gained enough weight to do it. It's like, the gain in weight part might be on him, but it's also on what's important to the team. They kind of like let him coast around, and he's in the same position that Ben Simmons was in early Philly. Oh, you don't have to shoot. It's okay. You're so good. Or, what you give us, Claxton, we don't need you to score. And now they turned around, gave him the money and say, okay, so now everyone's complaining. Why can't he score? It's because you never let him cook. You never let him even try. And now he's behind. He's underdeveloped.
Right.
And that's
That's why you got
what
to
I'm saying.
trade him because you don't want
Develop,
his money to get bad. He's getting all this money. You don't want his value to get bad, so we have
develop
to
players.
attach
I mean, what
assets.
the heck is? I know what's his name could beat him. I know what's his name could beat him in a game if they played today. If him and Juwan Howard had a game, Juwan Howard would kill him in the post. And that's what I'm saying. Why isn't he teaching him?
It was like Jaleel Okafor. Remember Okafor? He came in the league, he had a
Yes.
good rookie year, but then the game kind of phased him out. It's like, well, why is it phasing out good players? It wasn't like he sucked and he couldn't develop. He had a really good post game, 12 feet and in.
Yeah.
He had really good spin moves off the post. He
Yes.
could do things offensively, right? And he had the
17
size
and
and
a
stuff.
half a game. 17 and a
Yeah.
half a game. Yeah.
And then the game just phased him out. It's like, well, why? Why not utilize him? Like, why do we all have to run the same blueprint? I don't
And
really
guys,
follow it.
and listen, you see that picture of me there? That's a block, right? Guys in there would argue with me back when Jaleel was here. They're like, nah, he's a dinosaur. The game has evolved too much. And I'm like, no, it's our coaching. It's not the player. It's our coaching. And that's part of the problem. It's like, the thing is, I guess the only way that you turn the tide is the just player has to just be so good that then they start saying, oh, okay, well, now we'll concede that it can happen. But I mean, other than that, it's the game, it's the coaches, it's how they're doing it. And that's the thing that makes me kind of worried about Cleveland, because I think Mobley has it in him, but Jared really doesn't. He really doesn't have much of a post game. He'll try it. I mean, he has way better than Claxton, but it's like if you're not teaching any of these guys really how, there's no inside out game anymore. And if there's no inside out game, the only thing you can rely on is, are your threes falling or are you just running them off the court?
Which is interesting because Kobe Bryant talked about this years ago, how the game's all penetrate and pitch, right? It's all like luck basketball, right? Like you penetrate, you kick it out, and either you make the shot or you don't. There's no more basketball with a purpose. And I always kill fighters like this, especially at the professional levels when I'm working with them.
Yeah.
Every punch you throw has to be thrown with a purpose. Just don't
With,
throw punches. Not the amateurs anymore. You can't
with
do
bad
that. It's not going to
intentions,
work.
right?
But everything sets up something else. Change up your tempos, change up your speed, mix your levels up, right? But everything's supposed to set something else up. You can't just fire shots to fire shots. That's how you walk into stuff. That's how you get timed.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like that. Now it's like just penetrate and hope that guy on the wing gets open, and either he's going to hit the three or the corner three, or he's not. And that's the possession. It's like that's not really a great offensive possession, right? It's like Jonathan brought up baseball before. I'm old enough. When I played baseball, I'm old enough to remember when there was 2 strikes. What'd you do? Shorten up, keep the ball in play.
Right.
Well, that's lost now.
Yeah. And so I was gonna say it also is, we should have seen this coming with the mantra of, remember how many times they tried to ram that down our throats? It's a make or miss league. It's a make or miss league. And it's like, no, but if you're taking, because some of those shots, I looked the other day at uh older player. I looked at Kiki Vandeweghe, right? I think because someone was showing me the game where I think Denver played Detroit and they had the most points, like almost 300 points in the game. And I looked at Kiki Vandeweghe and I looked at his career and I was like, I remember Kiki could shoot, but he could also dunk and he could also drive and he was an
Yeah.
excellent free throw shooter. But when I looked at his game, his lifetime 3-point percentage was like 37. But do you know how many 3-pointers he took a game? He averaged 19.7 for his career, as far as his points. But you know how many 3-pointers he took? 0.7.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably won a game. Less than one
Yeah,
game.
so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's not that the guys couldn't shoot, but they considered some of those lesser good shots, right? They weren't as
I
good
remember
shots.
Grant Hill saying that if he took 3 threes in a game, he'd feel like he was settling, and that's not a good game. Yeah, yeah, attack the hoop exactly.
And that's
But
and that's the and that's the problem. That's the problem that Anthony Edwards is finding now because he's taking 10 shots a game. He's taking 10 threes a game. And then when he gets double teamed, now he's complaining. Like, why aren't they're doubling me every time I put the ball on the floor, but they're just letting me shoot threes. And it's like, because that's how they beat you, man. Got to come up with a way of beating the double team or learning how to pass.
I want to address this comment by Alex Torres because I think it's a really smart point. Nets don't have any guards who can truly create penetration to set anything else up. D'Lo and Cam Thomas need pick and rolls to create separation. Agreed. The Nets don't have anyone right now besides D'Lo that can create their own shot. But moreover, they don't have anyone who can create shots for others, which is more important, right? They don't have anyone that can really create their own offense, but they don't have anyone who can create offense for others. And that's why you see the stagnant offense where they're just passing the ball around the perimeter and then shooting a
No foot
contested
speed.
three. Yeah.
No, nobody can turn the corner. That's the problem,
Well,
But I
right?
Gary,
want
you just
to,
answered
John.
your own question. You asked if the wheels are falling off. Not having a point guard that's versatile and can open up everybody, or having players that can self-create. Like there's a lot that is unbalanced with this team, and that's why we have to draft right. Have to get the right vets eventually. Eventually, if you get a star that can bring everybody together, that's what you hope to aim for. This team right now is just such an imbalance because the
But
fundamentals that you just talked about don't exist on
but
this
when
team
you
right
say
now.
that,
That's where
no,
we got to fix that.
but John, when you're saying that, it's not the versatility. It's just that they can't do it. It's like if D'Lo and Cam could do it, they would do it. But what it is it's a matter of they don't have they don't have the quickness and agility of Tyrone Maxey. That's what I'm saying. We need that
Very
type
nice.
of
Yeah.
player. We need the Rob
No,
Dillingham.
that's a very fair point. That's a
We
very
need
fair
those,
point.
and you're born with that. It's not something that you're not practicing. It's just you're born with it, and so we need that type of guy. So when they're talking about that in the draft, then we're looking at Boogie Flam, we're looking at Jeremiah Fears, and those guys that could actually do that.
Right. That's why it's good to get a point guard in this draft. But if you get Asa Cooper, we could still get a point guard. That's the exciting part about this
I
draft.
want to
With
I
all
want
the
to
picks
switch
we got.
topics back to the Nets and the tank. I got the tankathon, and I want LB's thoughts on this because I think the tank's in great shape. Right now, they're the sixth spot, right? Charlotte's gonna start winning games. Like they've won 2 in a row. New Orleans is gonna win games. So for me, both those teams, New Orleans and Charlotte, are way more talented than the Nets. They're gonna pass the Nets in due time, like quickly. Like they're gonna win some games. The Nets aren't. That would put the Nets already in the 4th seed. And then the question becomes teams like Utah and Toronto, who are still they're not catching Washington. Okay. Washington probably won't win 14 games this year. So
Sure.
put them to the side. They're not catching Washington. But I think New Orleans and Charlotte are going to catch them relatively quickly, like in a couple of weeks, because they're going to win games.
Yeah.
That leaves Toronto and Utah, who are both much better from a talent perspective than the Nets, like much better. Can the Nets lose enough to catch those teams? Because I don't see. So what I'm saying is, I think the 4th spot is a foregone conclusion. Like, I really do.
I
Like
think I think Utah is going to continue to try to tank, but I think
they're so
we
much
could.
better. Like, aren't they going to win
I
games
know
by accident?
they are, but I think Toronto I think Toronto is a team that when they get their people back, they also have to be careful about because they've already signed these guys. So they really don't have, even though they have an incentive to tank in terms of getting talent, they've already signed quickly to a long deal. They've already signed Scotty Barnes. And if they keep losing, like where they're not trying or where they keep resting guys, Scotty Barnes might turn around and ask for a trade. So they
Right.
got to be careful about that. So I think it's behooving of them to start trying to win, at least trying to get better.
It's interesting to me because I thought either Charlotte or Toronto or possibly both would be playing teams, right? Atlanta play-in teams. Atlanta has outperformed what anyone thought they would do, so that's taken up a spot. But like Charlotte and Toronto, from a talent perspective, aren't all that bad. Like they are drastically underperforming what their talent
Yes.
says they should be doing.
Is RJ
So
playing?
like and
Is RJ playing?
is RJ
RJ
playing?
Barrett. RJ Barrett
Oh,
is he?
he's back now, but they Toronto is tanking the way you want the Nets to tank. They're sitting him randomly for
Yes.
yeah. They're tanking the way you want the Nets to tank. John, let me bring in. You've been quiet. Your
No, it's
thoughts
a good
on the tank?
conversation.
Yeah, your thoughts on the. I'm sorry. Your thoughts on the tank?
Yeah, like listen, if we move
How's
up
it
to that
going so
fourth
far? Yeah.
we move to that fourth slot, I feel good about our chances. I don't know if we can get in that top three because the Raptors, listen, they're probably the smartest tanking team. You have a franchise guy in Scotty Barnes, and you have a free chance to potentially get a Cooper, Ace, or Harper, or an Igor to pair with him. Why wouldn't you take that chance? That's because you want to get better and build more stars to eventually get vets on that team. So the Raptors are probably the scariest team in this whole draft that I worry about matching up with us to get one of these top picks. Washington, if they stay one, I don't think they're guaranteed number one. They can possibly get 5 or 6. Wouldn't that be hilarious? But yeah, if as long as we're bottom four, that fourth slot, I think our shot of getting top three is pretty good. Utah, like you said, I don't know because they don't. I don't think they want to move out of top three. I think their goal clearly is to get one of those top two slots by staying in that three. But I think Pelicans, like you said, Zion is now playing really well. I think he wants to get the hell off that team as soon as possible. And I think he knows he has to get his trade value up if he wants to go this summer. So him winning games, yeah, it helps us a lot, but he's also doing himself a favor because he probably wants to get out of there. And the Hornets, if they could get their stuff together and win some more games than we can, I'll take it. So getting that fourth slot, I think, is our best priority right now. I don't necessarily think you get top three, but four is fine. That's where we should have been to start this season. So I'm kind of glad things are lining up. But I think Sean Marks could have made this a hell of a lot easier than he tried so far this season. But thankfully, things are kind of working out in a weird way. That's kind of how it's always been with Brooklyn with
We
Marks at the
just have
helm.
to we just have to lose every time we play Toronto. That's Sean Marks's problem. It's like
All
when we get
right.
ready to play Toronto, just lose. We'll
Mm-hmm.
take whatever happens with everyone else in the league, but don't let us beat Toronto.
Let me go. DJ wants it. Our boy DJ, one of my favorite guys to talk hoops with. DJ, you want in on the conversation. What are your thoughts before we transition to Cam Johnson trades?
Man, I just think that this team is just watching it. Just I watched all the way up until I didn't watch the first half. I watched the second half of the game, and man, bro, it was just a terrible game. Like it seems like every game we play now, we're just getting blown out. It just seems like lack of effort, lack of defense. I don't know what happened to the defensive uh like the defensive schemes that Jordy was putting in. I don't know what happened. That's just gone. There's not much offense. I mean, we might need just Cam Thomas back to spark up some offense because I'm watching the games, bro, and it's just like the lack of scoring is crazy. Like we're not getting any type of scoring on the floor. Um, I don't even
No,
know who we got
they
next.
struggle to shoot 40%. They struggle to score 100 points. The offense is putrid.
It's
And to be,
terrible. I don't even think
yeah.
even if Cam does come back, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even think he can help this that much. Like he's gonna help it, but not even that much. Like he can't do it out there by himself.
Right, exactly. He's going to
And
give you
then
some offense, but you need a hell of a lot more.
Like
Right.
it might be 100 a game compared to what like 99. Like we're getting blown out, bro. Like it's crazy. It's terrible. There's no defense being played at all.
and that's what I meant
We
by
out
the
here letting
wheels
dudes
falling off.
shoot
It's
wide
getting
open
ugly.
threes.
It's getting ugly. And
Yeah,
and this
Gary,
is
I
why
watched them take wide open shots.
this is why I'm opposed to tanking. Is because losing creates a losing culture, and your goal is to keep losing. Like you're going to become a loser franchise. This is why I generally don't like the idea of tanking. I just think I don't have a better option. So I guess this year it's tank because we already have this roster. It's not going to
Only
get
2
better.
more months, Gary. Then it's gonna be playoffs in the draft. So we're almost there.
I don't
We're
like
almost
I
there.
don't like tanking for like long periods, like each year. I don't like doing that. I don't like taking each year.
We don't have a choice this year. This is.
Yeah,
I
we don't
mean,
have a
look,
choice this year.
I just said our starting five with Cam Thomas out. The best five we have is D'Lo, Zaire, Clowney, CJ, and Claxton. You're not winning games like that. Like not NBA games. You're not winning games with that lineup, and that's the best we got. Once Cam Johnson gets
tank
traded,
with
it's going to
young
get even
guys.
worse because now you've lost your shooter.
Yeah, but you see, but that's the problem. That's why Cam Johnson doesn't fit. That's why Claxton doesn't fit. I mean, even though Claxton's not that old, but it's like when you get rid of these guys for either the draft capital or whatever, and we know we have 2 starters in our whole roster, right? Clowney and Cam Thomas,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is when we draft the guys that we draft, you lose with young guys, but you're not losing in the same way. You're losing, but you're hopeful. This is like losing and hopeless. That's the difference. So you can't tank with old guys. You can't tank with veterans because they spoil what's going on. Young guys just think, "Oh, I got the opportunity." You know what I mean? But you can't do that with a veteran like Johnson and
Right.
with D'Lo, even with D'Lo, even if it
But
gets to
even
the
if you
point,
have a young team and you have like a top talented, like at least your top 3 players on your team is top talented. I mean, you won't tank. You'll probably be good, but we don't have any type of talent. That's why we're tanking right
yeah,
now. Like
because
that, we're
Yeah.
forced to tank because we don't
And
have
it's
any
better
talent.
to tank than be the Chicago Bulls and be a milling team your whole life. Like we don't
we
want to
have
be that.
we
I
We
have
want
want
to
to.
have
I
Well, I
want
mean,
to
they
direction.
bring the
still.
conversation. I want to bring the conversation back to you, John. I want to let you cook a little
Mhm.
bit. Cam Johnson, the Nets. Obviously, the Cam Johnson rumors are heating up. He's going to get
Right.
traded, I would think, very very soon. New report made Cleveland the most
What do they
likely
even have?
destination for him, according to DraftKings, at plus
Hmm.
250. John, you're all over this. This is your forte here. Cleveland, and I got to go take a leak. So I'm going to let you cook on this for a minute. Cleveland plus 250 ahead of OKC, ahead of Memphis, ahead of Sacramento, all the teams that where we envision them going. What are your thoughts on this, and what kind of haul can we get back from Cleveland?
Yeah, listen, the Cavs are a very interesting team. I didn't have them as a top option for us, but after this weekend with OKC, Rockets, and Pacers all kind of confirming that they kind of don't want to ruin what they got, I'm very surprised OKC doesn't want to even take a shot at Johnson. I thought there could be some good business opportunities, but unfortunately that doesn't look like the case. I'm hearing the Kings might want him, but there's still details to be ironed out, like what they're really willing to give besides one pick. So a good team like the Cavs, they're pretty solid. They got a top 4 right now in Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen, but they have apparently from different sources have a high interest in Johnson, but they're unwilling to make their 8 best pieces available. But they have a trove of second round draft picks. I think they have 8, and they have 1 first round draft pick, but it's not available till 2031. So you think about it, could the Cavs actually give the Nets a whole of something? Listen, at the end of the day, I don't know if Marks will even get anything
Yeah,
close
right.
to 2 first round picks because he wants 2 first round picks, right? But you think about what the Cavs can offer you. They want an equivalent, Mark says. So if they want to give you 4 to 5 seconds, that 1 first in 2031, that prospect they got last year in Jalen Tyson and Karis LeVert's expiring, could that be a quantity of a hole that Marks would consider? I don't know, but I would if the goal is to get off of Johnson. I don't think there's any value in keeping him. He's not going to replicate what he's doing right now when he's 31 years old. So if the Cavs are willing to push that hard, throw most of their second draft picks away, that valuable first, an expiring contract in LeVert, who we can flip for more assets, and a prospect in Tyson, I'm open to it. At the end of the day, if an equivalent of a second first is 4 to 5 seconds, you take that. Because you think about it, second round draft picks are kind of more valuable than they've ever been in trade stuff. Most players in this deadline might get traded for second round picks. So if that's a surplus, that could be an equivalent of a first. I'm open to it, but I don't know if Marks thinks that that's the best he can get. But at the end of the day, if no other team is complying with what he wants, I think this Cavs combination of 4 to 5 seconds, an unprotected first, Caris versus expiring, and Jalen Tyson is an interesting offer to think about. But will Marks take it? We have yet to be seen. But the rumors are heating up, like Gary's saying.
Jalen Tyson is a guy that's from my neck of the woods. Watched him play high school basketball at a Catholic school in North Dallas. What is the intriguing him? Because he played at Texas for a year, but sat the bench mostly. Then he went to Tech. Then he went to a third school.
I don't see it. Yeah.
What is the intriguing him, John? Because I don't see. I'm with LB.
I think for the Nets right now, I don't think a prospect in this scenario with the Cavs is that important, but they want it. They want a haul, right? A quantity. So if they're throwing a prospect, they could throw him in. I know LBO wants to bring up Amani Bates. He's injured right now. I'm cool with him. I like what that kid can give you potentially, but I think the appeal with Jones is he's got a little scoring in him, but he hasn't gotten the right minutes on a team that is contending right now. So we can get him along with that haul of second round picks and that first. You take it. It's a quantity haul. I don't think there's a lot of importance on what he will do on his team, but he's a prospect that Jordy could develop and work with. I think that would be why they would want him. But again, is Sean Marks willing to pivot from the 2 firsts to a quantity haul like this? I think he should listen at least, because I don't think you're getting the 2 first-round picks right now from everything I'm hearing. But this is an interesting haul. 4 to 5 seconds could equate a second first, and you get that valuable potential lottery first. That it's 5 years down the line, but the Cavs may not be this team in 5 to 6 years. So it's something to think about, but I don't know if Marks will take it.
I want to ask DJ a question. I want to ask LBL a question. DJ, Jalen Tyson, you follow every team in the league. Have you gotten to see much of him? He played in 3 colleges in 3 years. Like I said, he didn't play much of the year. He was at Texas, and he went to other programs. Do you see the intrigue in him, and what are your thoughts on Jalen?
I didn't watch him much in high school or college. I did watch him with the Cavs, but just from what I've seen, it doesn't look like his offense is polished yet. It's not ready. I don't think. I think he needs some more time, but I don't know if I would do the Cavs deal, bro. I might do a Grizzlies deal. I think the Grizzlies have more to offer.
I agree.
I agree.
I don't think that this Cleveland deal is that intriguing to me. It's a
what do we get? We get
trade possible. Okay, let's talk about it. But
so we get LeVert and then Tyson and then a pick
4 to 5 seconds. 4 to 5 seconds in that first. It's quantity. If Sean Marks, this is the thing I think Sean Marks wants. He wants something similar to Mikal. You're not going to get the Mikal haul, but if you want 6 picks for Johnson, depending on how that all values out, it's really up to the quantity at that point with him. If he wants all of that for Johnson. I think that's where we'll come down to.
Maybe if he's not getting Imani Bates, maybe if it was Imani Bates, I would probably I like Bates more than I do Tyson.
Yeah.
But I'm not high on this Cavs deal.
I'm not high, and I love
it. Sounds
it
is like you said, Gary.
All-time favorite Nets. Like to me, like D'Angelo Russell at the 1, Cam Thomas at the 2, and LeVert at the 3. That's like I'm geeking out on that. Except
how old is LeVert? LeVert's like what, 6'5", 6'4"?
He's 6'5". Yeah, he's 6'5".
Bro. Him at the 3 is terrible.
Look at the Nets roster, bro. It's all terrible. There's nothing good here. But let me bring it to LBL. What are your thoughts on this trade? I don't love this trade. If there was nothing else, and the only way I could get rid of Cam Johnson was to make this trade, I would do it. But to me, there are better options out there. What are your thoughts on this?
It sounds like it's a salary dump by Cleveland because, for my money, I mean, I would not give up. I was telling John this before. I would not give up LeVert. If I only have 2 small guards, there's no way I'm giving up. And LeVert is a proven postseason performer. There's no way.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't give him up. He's good being the 3rd guy off the bench and whatever. So I definitely wouldn't give him up if we're trying to win a title. So maybe it's the Kenny LeVert thing. Like Kenny never really trusted him when he was on the Nets. He always benched him in favor of Dinwiddie. So maybe this coming back now. But I wouldn't even give up LeVert. But in terms of, I told John that I would definitely be interested in Imani Bates, but I'm not interested in seconds. I mean, like if this trade comes to be whoever it is, whoever the players are matching the salary and seconds, then Sean Marks has failed at trade.
He's already failed.
Well,
Last year we could have
LBL.
hang on. Last year we could have traded DFS and Cam Johnson and gotten 3 first-round picks for the two of them.
Yeah,
now
I do
we're
remember
gonna
that.
end up getting no first-round picks for the two of them.
That's crazy.
Well,
Especially the way.
here's the thing, LBL.
We took too long.
They said
he's averaging 19 points a game, and you're not going to be able to get a first for him.
Well,
but LBL, isn't that because we took too long to move these dudes?
Right,
Yeah.
right. But here's another thing. They said yesterday he either wants a 2 first or he wants an equivalent. You think about it,
He's
second round draft picks right now are kind of like if you pair like 4 to 5 together, it could equivalize a first if you're moving in a draft or you're making a bigger deal down the line. So I'm not as opposed to if the Cavs are willing to give you all those picks because they would have to at that point. If you don't have anything really valuable, you can put all those picks away and that first if you want to have a shot at Johnson. So I'm okay with it if this is all about quantity. It's not really a quality deal at the end of the day. Like Gary said, it's not a quality deal. But if Marks wants to be right, Gary? If he wants to be right and get a quantity, say, hey, I traded Johnson to the Cavs for 5 seconds and a first. That's 6 picks. Whoa. But we kind of know that value-wise, it's not high or spicy, but it would be assets that you can use down the line to make a bigger deal. That's what this would essentially be, asset accumulation mode.
Let me ask the other guy. Let me ask the panel. Go ahead, Alvin. I got a question for the panel.
Okay, John, can you explain to us, because I know like how second round picks are for teams that are like, on the second apron or over the cap and this and that, and it's less. But can you explain to us why you feel like second round picks are very valuable? Because I don't think they're very valuable because of what Gary and I were just talking about, how all of these guys keep doing the one and dones and they're coming out of school and they're not ready to play in the NBA.
You might land on a gym.
Well, I think it's more of like for trades though, LBO with second round picks. So you think about it, first round picks right now, a lot of teams are very scared to use them unless you're going after a Giannis or a big time star because they realize in this new CBA era, first round picks are literally your lifelines. If you use those lifelines up to win a title and you don't win it, you're screwed as a team. With second picks, the more of those you have, it's like a cushion. You can make smaller moves, role player moves, stuff like that. It's really more for trades than it is for drafting. I would say second round picks are as a value right now.
But let me ask you this:
argument, John.
It's a very fair argument.
How many seconds in this day and age? Now, I mean, I understand that Jalen Wilson is the guy that stays 4 years, but how many of the second round picks are going to stay in the NBA?
Probably not a lot, but you think about this. If they were willing to give you 4 to 5 seconds and a first, we would go from 31 picks to 36 or 37 picks. And Marks could brag about that. Like, it's really more of like extra assets to make bigger moves down the line if Marks accepts this deal. It's not about quality. I'll be honest with you, probably second round picks are not going to amount to anything, but they're probably part of future trades that the Nets make. And I'm not opposed to that if we can't get a high offer for Johnson. Like, I really don't want to keep him at this point because I know there's a chance that Marks could use him for a bigger deal for his star and ruin our rebuild. So get Johnson out now. And if this is the worst deal you have to take, you still get quantity out of it. You get a lot of seconds, a first, a prospect, and expiring salary. So at the end of the day, it's not as horrible as I originally thought. But like Gary said, it would kind of be your last resort if nobody else is willing to give you anything close to what you want for Johnson from a quality standpoint. I would pivot to quantity at that point.
Or you could do Gary's plan. And you know what Gary's plan is, right? If you keep CJ, you just play him sparingly, keep losing, and then at the draft, or at the end of the year, you find out who you draft, and then you can decide, all right, am I trading Johnson for someone else, who lost out on a 3 or who lost out on
So would you hypothetically put those late firsts with Johnson on draft night to move down in the draft if there's a contending team that's in the draft that wants him potentially? Is that what you're suggesting, maybe?
I'd be willing to ship him anywhere, but what I'm saying is the point is we can't keep Johnson if Cam Thomas comes back. We can't keep Johnson and then actually play him because we'll win too many games. So what I'm saying is I can understand.
I don't believe that.
Let's keep him.
Too many, not a lot, DJ. You won't win a lot of
games.
I
don't mean a lot.
If you look at our schedule, I think I'm gonna give you my honest answer. I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. I don't see us winning another game. Not till I don't. Not any of these top teams that we're going against in these upcoming games. I don't see it.
Let me ask this question, right? Because you guys are in New York, I'm not. Is there any luster to this Knicks net game tomorrow night, or does nobody care? I mean, there's no baseball. Both football. Teams
Nobody
are
really
in the playoffs.
cares.
Nobody cares. Okay.
No, nobody cares. I mean, if we was a contending team, they would care, but nah. I don't. Is the Knicks gonna play all their players?
It's a TNT game. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, Thibodeau probably will because it's Thibodeau, right? He's
Oh
gonna
yeah,
play him all 40
it is
minutes.
too.
They're playing today against the Knicks are playing against the Hawks in an hour, I think. So it's a back-to-back tomorrow
Yeah, I'll probably
against
sit
us.
them.
You know
He'll
what?
play them both 40.
You know
he'll
what,
play-
Gary? You know what?
Yeah.
That game has more steam than ours because at least Trey Young, since he disrespected
Yeah, it's just more. There's a rivalry between Trey Young and the Knicks. So
and
Yo,
what he
do you know
got-
that right now in the standings, the Hawks and Knicks are lined up to face each other in the first round? I hope that sticks.
The
I would
NBA
love that.
no, I'm not gonna lie. That's gonna be if that happens, that's gonna be a nice first round. I like the
It
Trey Young
will
versus
be.
Knicks
That's
game.
just drama. That's your storyline, your popcorn. Get it all.
The Knicks will win that series, but it'll go 6-7. Like Atlanta is
Oh,
sneaky
yeah, I like.
good.
will they
Yeah,
win it?
Gary,
if we
you like the Trey Young versus Knicks beef?
I love it. Yeah. Trey Young is
I like it,
perfect
bro.
for that.
Trey
Yeah,
Young
Will
is-
they still win? Will the Knicks still win
he's
if
a
we
great
give
villain.
them Nick Claxton?
Who?
Claxton.
You know that Claxton
Claxton.
for
To who?
Okay, so
Atlanta?
here's my problem with that.
To
You're gonna
Atlanta,
put Claxton
yeah.
on Carl Anthony
I
Towns,
don't-
LB.
I
How's
don't
that
see
gonna
it.
work out? You know what I'm saying? You put Claxton on Cat.
Carl Anthony Towns will eat him alive.
You know what I'm saying?
Clint
Keep
Capella
telling
is better than not Cat. I'm sorry. Clint Capella is better than Claxton.
Oh,
As
definitely.
far as
I don't-
traditional
I
center
wouldn't do
goes,
it.
I agree with you, DJ. As far as
Oh
traditional
no,
center, I
not
agree with you.
traditional. Just period. He's better. Period.
No, just
I
in
want
general.
to ask this question. Back to Cam Johnson, real quick. I want to bring it back to the Cam Johnson trade. Between Jalen Tyson and Devin Carter on Sacramento, who's the better prospect? Guys, just go around.
I would say Carter just because he's a point guard and we do need an insurance policy in case, say we draft Cooper or Ace and you don't have a shot to draft Harper or Eagle, where we got that backup point guard or a potential starting point guard. I want to make that deal with the Kings, but so far that I'm hearing, the Kings only want to give us Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and one first. But Marks is like, what's next to that first? And I've heard nothing really substantial about that. So
that's a better deal than the Cleveland.
LBL
Really?
and DJ.
Yeah.
Better prospect between the two, Carter and Tyson. Who's a better prospect?
I've only seen Carter like in the highlights for like when he was drafted clips. So I assume they're better because Tyson I haven't seen much of either.
I don't
I
really
just don't
see
like
the
it. I don't like
intrigue in
Tyson's
Tyson.
offense, bro. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
But I'll go with Carter.
Yeah, I would go with Carter.
I'm getting a better prospect anyone from Sacramento. To me, that's such a better deal. Why am I even
But will the Kings make it, though, is the question. They should be desperate to want to keep Fox happy.
I've been
I'm
seeing
surprised they're not
somewhere
willing to do
about
that.
the Kings are trying to they're not really too much looking into the CJ anymore since they're winning now. Or a couple games.
They turn things around. But as soon as Mark said that any trade would have to involve Carter sat. All of a sudden, he was taking
right.
You know what I'm saying? To me, that looked like it was about to get done. I thought.
So which team? Which team do you think CJ is going to get traded to, Gary?
Well, I mean, I'm an odds guy, right? I'm a gambler. I'm an odds guy.
I think that
if
Cavs
the odds are telling me the Cavs, I think Sean Marks sucks at his job. I think he'll make a trade. So I think Cleveland.
Yeah, but it's crazy, Gary. Isn't it crazy that I talked to you about that last night?
The Cleveland deal is heating up.
Yeah, Gary, isn't it crazy? I talked to you about this all last night, and it came to fruition today. Like it just come from nowhere. I'm like, the Cavs are a team that's sneaky right now, and
well, they want to make a wing. So.
I mean, DJ, you asked who's involved right now. I would say it's Kings, Cavs, with Magic and Memphis on the outside. Those are the four teams I have it down to right now. So it's really between Cavs and Kings, I guess. But they have to give you a decent offer at least.
Can we bring in a third team so that the Cavs get Cam, and then we ship LeVert somewhere else where
yes,
needed, and then
I'm open to that.
Would a team really want LeVert right now? I mean, it depends on the team, I guess.
Right.
I think like LeVert to me is very valuable. Like
I'm
not saying he's not. No, hold on, my bad. I'm not saying he's not valuable. I'm saying just right now from the standpoint of right now, because I mean, there's a lot of teams that's guard heavy right now. They're already wing heavy, so I don't know.
I don't think so. I think. I mean, the young team.
Do you think you can play LeVert off the ball? Like, I don't really think you can. I think he's a ball dominant guy. Do you think you can play LeVert off the ball?
No,
I
no,
think
I don't think so. I don't. He
I
knows
don't
a
think so.
playoff ball. Like, that's
He
not his
doesn't play
game.
off the ball, right? So if you're gonna bring him in, now he's really changing your offense for the second unit, right?
I
I don't
think
know.
he would be valuable like on a Denver because Murray is not consistent in terms of always getting hurt.
Nah, I think Denver's fine. I mean, they got Westbrook, so
Yeah, so for the second
they already
unit,
got.
now you'd
There's
have to
only
take the
one
ball.
ball, LBL. So you already have
So
a lot of
you'd have
dudes
to
that's
take
handling some
Westbrook
ball.
off the ball, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
that would look
Yeah,
awkward.
I don't like
That
that
would be
Levert shit.
awkward.
that's what I'm saying. It's Levert is not it's not like Cam Johnson's easy to trade because he plays off the ball, he fits in an offense.
Yeah,
Levert is like that third guard who handles the ball. He's a secondary ball handler, which I love, and I think there's value to him. But it's tougher to bring in a guy like that at the deadline because now I got to change my offense a little bit as opposed to like a plug and play guy like Cam Johnson.
Well, if
You
we
know,
do the
it's
deal,
and he does play
I'll just
defense.
keep Levert for the end of the
If you
for the
ask
rest
me
of the
who I
season.
like better, Levert or Cam Johnson, to me it's not even close. I take Levert by a mile. Like it's not even
Me
close.
too.
you know what's
But
interesting. LBO brought off
But
like
nah,
I
come
think
on,
you.
Gary. Who's been playing
Into your
better this
offense.
season though?
I,
Who's
I,
been playing better this season?
Well, Cam Johnson's gotten the minutes. I mean, Levert's playing well, but he's got a much smaller role, right?
Yeah,
Cam Johnson is the only guy on the Nets that can score.
I mean, I see why the Cavs won CJ, bro. I mean, it's a nice
Well,
deal
they
to
want
do.
to upgrade at the wing. I kept hearing all year that the Cavs are small at
Yeah,
the
they
wing
want
and
to
they
get
need
big.
an upgrade. But LBO brought up an interesting point. There might be a third team that might be needed in this deal with the Cavs and the Kings deal. Remember, Kevin Hutter has a 2-year contract left, and Gary, I remember him saying he hates it, doesn't want nothing to do with the guy. So there must be a third team with us in the Cavs potentially. Maybe
I
that's what's
will make
holding
this
things up
deal.
right now.
I don't like this Cleveland Cavs trade, but I love Karis LeVert. If the Nets trade for LeVert, I will get a Karis LeVert jersey. That's
We're
Come
bringing
on,
the
Gary.
band back
He's not even
together.
gonna
The
be here
boys are
for
back in
long
town.
term,
hey
bro.
Gary, I gotta admit, Karras was my favorite player when he was here.
yeah, mine too.
He's
He
my
could have been something great, but he got that nasty leg injury, man. That was
Mine's
heartbreaking,
Levert,
man.
Joe Harris. Before all the injuries.
Yeah, that's when
But
Brooklyn was
but
fun.
I'm thinking that but like I said, if John says we're only getting this scrubby Tyson guy and seconds, I'm like that's a failure, man.
That's
That's
a
a
failure
Yeah,
of
but
the
failure.
this one,
trade.
but Elbel, this is what Marks has done. He's always made these big demands, never meets them. Like Lou, when we had Katie on the team, was he get traded from Kel or Johnson or what? I kept hearing Ingram, Brown. It never happened. This is what Marks does, unfortunately, LBL. So we shouldn't be surprised if it is the Cavs at the end of the day because Marks never really gets through on his big promises, right? This is all for the course at the end of the day
I
if
want
this
to ask
happens.
TJ because I know John's thoughts on this, but I want to ask the other two panelists, DJ and LBL. And I'm not necessarily opposed to this. What about keeping Cam Johnson into the offseason and then trading him for a star? I know LBL's not, but go ahead, LBL, you go first. I'll hear from DJ. I know you don't want to trade for a star, but what would be your thoughts on keeping Cam into the offseason and then using him as a salary piece to trade for a star?
Yeah, well, even if it's not a star but better players, like you could actually I mean, well, I guess if you're talking about a star, you're talking about two starters. If we still have Nick Claxton, can you package him and Johnson and like a future pick and then maybe get a guy like Zion or someone on the low, like on a lower deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they might say, well, now that's a center, and you're giving us a three, and so
Does Claxton have any
and they're
value?
both
Like that's what I'm saying. You gotta trade Claxton now before he
no,
loses
he
all
doesn't
his
have
value.
any.
Nah, he doesn't. You have to like LBO. So you have to package him in with somebody.
Can't he just get a salary dump for him? Can't he just get like?
Oh, you know what?
Capella?
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I would say. I would
Well, a
say,
team has to be willing to take
yeah,
him
you know
on.
what I
I
would
don't see
say,
a team
Gary?
taking him on.
I would say if you're talking about holding on to Cam Johnson, and if we're not successful with getting rid of Claxton at this deadline, so now we just use both of those veterans to move up with salary dumps and then get higher draft picks. I'm good for that. I would be good for that instead of maybe we'd move up like 3 or 4 spots in each pick.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if you could. Yeah, no, that would work if you
I mean,
package
because
him in with the pick to move
we're
up. Yeah,
taking some expirings, and we're taking,
yeah.
and we're moving up, to a team that, But but it's like the shot of that. Who knows whether that can happen or not? But I know I don't like these. I don't like watching Cam Johnson in the conference finals, and all we got out of it was some second round picks. That
Yo, wait, guys. Alex Torres just reported Chaos Avert is out today.
I think this
Interesting.
trade may be going down. And look,
I'm home to
we're gonna John,
Brooklyn,
me and you are
baby.
gonna do a show. If we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it. Wednesday. We'll do it
That'd be
Wednesday.
that'd be wild if I
Is this
talked about this with you last night. It does happen. Like, damn, John, I'm a psychic now. That's
is this a
crazy.
fireable offense? DJ, I want your thoughts on keeping Cam to the offseason, the flipping for a star, because I haven't really gotten your take on that. What do you think of
I'm not
going
opposed by
star?
doing that. I'm not opposed by doing that deal, only because like the Cam Johnson's value, I don't think is good enough for you to get a star. Like you have to throw in a lot just to go get a star if you want to throw in Cam Johnson.
Cam, Claxton,
Yeah,
a bunch of picks,
I
things
just
like
don't.
that.
I'm not opposed by doing it. I don't want to go after a star because we're gonna have a star and then with
Bunch of young guys and not a lot
yeah,
of
like
depth.
it's
That
not
don't make
it's gonna be
sense.
the same exact thing. So it's like we don't have. I say build the team up, build a foundation, and then probably go get a star one day. But right now, I'm not opposed to doing it. And then Cam Johnson. I just he said if we keep him too long, his value is gonna keep going down. I'm not opposed by keeping him until the draft.
All right, I gotta wrap this up, y'all. Appreciate everyone on the panel.
Wait, Gary, what's like? You asked if that was a fireable offense by Marks. Listen, at the end of the day, this is what Marks has done. He's always made these big demands, and usually the outcome is less or more surprising than we think it is. So if this deal goes down, my hope is that you extracted as much of those seconds as you could. If you only come away with 1 first, 2 seconds, that prospect Tyson and Karis LeVert, wow. That's underselling for Johnson. Like you could have got all those seconds
I mean, he's
and
not
the
a
first,
star
and I
though,
would have been
John.
okay with it.
So.
But man, if that's the offer you take, where it's even less than what I'm talking about for Johnson, yeah, I think you could have some conversations about Marks
Don't
being
get
a
your. I
failing.
think John.
We're gonna get into this on
Yeah, I
the
think John
Wednesday
is
show
having
after
his
we're
hopes
gonna
up
get
too
into
high.
this.
No, I'm just saying, like, if that offer was lower than what we just proposed, yikes.
All right, I gotta wrap this up, y'all. I gotta run. I gotta go.
All right, fun show, guys. Fun show,
Appreciate
man.
Salute.
LBL, DJ, John.
All right,
Appreciate
guys.
y'all.
Have a good one, everybody.
John, give me the Powerball numbers.
0, 0, 0, 0.
All right.
Have a good one, everybody.
All right, y'all. From Texas to the world, thank you, and God bless.
Peace.